Picture yourself moving through a mangrove swamp. Not a nature documentary version of a mangrove swamp, the clean, well-lit, narrated kind where the camera crew has already scouted the area and the danger is safely framed for your viewing pleasure. The real version, the one where the air is so thick with humidity it feels like breathing through a wet towel, where the roots of the trees grow sideways out of the water like gnarled fingers, and the mud between them makes a sound when you walk that you don't want to think too hard about, where the water is dark and flat and completely still, and you have absolutely no idea what is underneath it. You are doing what every intelligent person does in this environment. You are watching the water. Eyes on the surface, eyes on the mud banks, giving a wide berth to anything that looks like a log, because you have been around long enough to know that some logs in this part of the world have teeth. You feel okay. You feel cautious, but okay. You are on dry ground or close enough to it. You are under the shade of a large tree, thick trunk, heavy branches spreading out overhead, a rare moment of cover from the relentless tropical heat. And then something makes you look up. Maybe it's a sound, maybe it's instinct, maybe it's just the particular silence of a place that should have birds in it, but doesn't. 15 feet above your head, stretched out along a thick branch like it owns the place, is a crocodile. Not a small one. A full-grown 500-pound Nile crocodile, or saltwater crocodile, the apex predator of this entire ecosystem, is lying flat on a tree branch above you, its prehistoric head resting on the bark, its eyes open and scanning the ground below with the calm, unhurried attention of something that has never once in its evolutionary history needed to worry about what was going to eat it. It is not panicking. It is not struggling to hold on. It is comfortable up there. It has clearly been up there for a while, and it is looking directly at you. Take a moment with that image, because everything you think you know about what a crocodile is, what it does, where it lives, how it operates, just became significantly more complicated. The biological engine. To understand why a half-ton reptile is sitting in a tree 15 feet off the ground, you have to understand what a crocodile actually is at the mechanical level. Because it is easy to look at a crocodile and see a monster, the armored hide, the jaw that generates more bite force than almost any other creature alive, the patient, motionless hunting style that has remained essentially unchanged for 200 million years. Crocodiles were here before the dinosaurs diversified. They watched the asteroid hit. They are still here. That kind of track record makes it easy to assume the crocodile is invincible. It is not. It has one vulnerability, one critical design flaw baked into its otherwise flawless architecture. And that flaw is this: it is entirely solar-powered. Crocodiles are ectothermic, cold-blooded in the popular language, which means they produce almost no internal body heat. Every other apex predator you can think of generates its own warmth. A lion, a great white shark, a wolf, their metabolisms burn fuel continuously, keeping their core temperature stable regardless of the environment around them. They can operate in the cold, they can hunt in the rain, they function independently of the weather. A crocodile cannot do any of that. Without external heat, without the sun, a crocodile's body begins to shut down in a way that is almost mechanical in its predictability. Its digestion slows to a crawl. A crocodile that can't thermoregulate properly can actually die from a full stomach because the digestive enzymes don't work correctly at low temperatures, and the food rots inside it before it can be processed. Its muscles lose their explosive snap. That legendary death roll, that terrifying lunge speed, requires warm, ready tissue. A cold crocodile is slow. A cold crocodile is sluggish. A cold crocodile is, by its own extraordinary standards, vulnerable. And here is the problem. Mangrove swamps and flooded river deltas, the exact environments where crocodilians thrive, are often terrible places to get warm. The water is cold, the mud banks are shaded by dense canopy overhead. In certain seasons, high tides erase the dry ground entirely, leaving nowhere flat and sun-exposed to bask. Down at ground level, in these environments, a crocodile can spend an entire day in the shade without ever getting the solar input it needs to run its metabolism at full capacity. Down on the ground, it is freezing, it is sluggish, it cannot hunt effectively, it cannot digest the last meal it caught. It is an apex predator running on a dead battery. So it looks up. Here is where the story gets physically absurd. Crocodiles are not built for climbing. Anyone who has looked at one knows this. They have 4 short, sprawling legs positioned out to the sides of their bodies rather than underneath them, a posture designed for low, flat movement. Their tails are thick and heavy. Their bulk is distributed in a way that makes everything about vertical movement seem structurally impossible. And yet, researchers studying crocodilian behavior across multiple continents in Africa, Australia, Florida, and throughout Central America began documenting what the local populations in these areas had always known. Crocodiles climb trees regularly, sometimes to heights of 25 or 30 feet, and they are not struggling up there, they are resting.
The mechanics of the climb are exactly as strange as you were imagining. They don't leap. They identify a trunk or a large root that angles upward at enough of a grade for their claws to find purchase, and they simply push. Those seemingly stubby legs are powered by the same muscle groups that drive one of the strongest bites in the animal kingdom. The force is there, it just isn't usually applied vertically. Their claws, which most people don't think about much because a crocodile's teeth tend to dominate the conversation, are sharp enough to dig into bark and hold their weight on the way up. They move slowly, they're deliberate about it. Branch by branch, foothold by foothold, several hundred pounds of prehistoric engineering ascending through a canopy that was not designed with them in mind. But here is what they are doing it for. At ground level, the canopy blocks the sun completely, but if you get above the canopy, if you push through the leaves and break the line, you are suddenly in direct, unfiltered tropical sunlight. The kind of intense, radiant heat that can raise a crocodile's core body temperature by several degrees in under an hour. Up in those branches, a crocodile becomes a solar panel. It stretches flat against the bark, maximizing surface area, and simply absorbs. The sun does what the shaded ground cannot. The metabolism reboots, the digestion kicks back in, the muscles warm up and regain their speed. Within a few hours of good sun exposure at elevation, a crocodile that was sluggish and borderline dysfunctional at ground level is back to full operational capacity. The tree is not a quirk, the tree is a charging station. The panopticon. Now, here is the part that makes this behavior genuinely unsettling on a second level, because the thermoregulation story, as strange as it is only half of what is happening up there. Scientists studying the tree climbing behavior noticed something beyond just the heat-seeking explanation. The crocodiles weren't just climbing to the sunniest branches. They were consistently choosing elevated positions with wide open sight lines, branches that faced clearings, positions that overlooked confluences of waterways, spots that provided the maximum possible view of the surrounding terrain. At ground level, a crocodile's world is frustratingly small. It is down in the reeds and the roots, its view blocked in every direction by vegetation, terrain, and the curve of the riverbank. It can ambush what comes to it, but it cannot survey. It cannot plan. It is operationally blind beyond 50 feet in most directions. 20 feet up in a tree, it can see everything. A panoramic, unobstructed view of its entire territory, the water channels, the mud banks, the approaches from every direction. It can spot a rival male moving into its stretch of river from a quarter-mile away. It can track the movement of potential prey along the bank before descending. It can monitor threats, human or animal, long before those threats have any idea they are being watched. The crocodile in the tree is not just warming up, it is conducting surveillance. Which brings us to the question you've been sitting with since the beginning, the one that has been quietly building since you first imagined looking up and making eye contact with a 15-foot reptile on a branch above your head. Are they going to jump? The answer is not intentionally at you, but the way they come down is somehow worse than if they did. Crocodiles do not climb down trees the way they climb up. There is no careful, deliberate reversal of the ascent. When a crocodile on a branch decides to leave, whether it's been startled, spotted something worth pursuing, or simply finished its basking session, it drops. It slides off the branch and falls directly into the water below if there is water, onto the ground if there isn't. The splash, by all accounts from researchers who have witnessed it, is violent and explosive and completely without warning. One moment the branch is occupied, the next moment there is a wall of water and a 500-pound animal is in motion. If you were standing near that water's edge, you would have approximately 0 seconds of reaction time, which is a good reason to look up more often. Here is the thing about evolution that this story keeps proving over and over again. It does not care about aesthetics. It does not care about what makes intuitive sense or what fits neatly into the category humans have built for a given animal. A crocodile belongs in the water, right up until the water stops meeting its needs. At that point, the crocodile that figured out how to get 30 feet off the ground lived. The one that waited on the shaded bank for conditions to improve did not. That's the entire story. That is always the entire story. The mangrove swamp didn't ask the crocodile if it was comfortable climbing trees. It just made the ground cold, took away the sunlight, flooded the banks, and waited. And a 250-million-year-old killing machine looked at a tree, calculated the angle of the trunk against its claw strength, and started climbing. Not because it wanted to, because it had no better option. Evolution does not produce elegant solutions. It produces solutions that work. And a 500-pound apex predator doing something that looks physically impossible, perched in the canopy 20 feet up, scanning its territory in the sun, ready to drop without warning into the water below, works just fine. The jungle is full of things that look like they shouldn't be able to do what they're doing. You just have to remember to look up. If you think a 500-pound crocodile climbing a tree is a glitch in the Matrix, wait until you hear what butterflies in the deep Amazon have to drink just to survive. It involves the eyes of these same crocodiles, and it is genuinely one of the most disturbing feeding behaviors in the insect world. I break it all down right here.